Welcome to Afternoon with the Pope, our weekly discussion show with Pope John Paul II. Good afternoon, Holy Father.
Good afternoon.
Today we are going to discuss the Renaissance artists and their contribution to the Renaissance, as well as the effect their works had on the Catholic Church. As you know, the Renaissance took place in the 15th century. It was a time where artists were moving away from creating works of art that lacked realism, dimension, and shadowing with these themes that were almost exclusively religious, to the works of art that portrayed lifelike human forms with correct proportions and realistic clothing and expressions. They used proportion, balance, and symmetry. They developed new techniques to give paintings a three-dimensional lifelike quality. They also studied human anatomy in an effort to better understand their subjects. Artists such as Michelangelo, Raphael, and Leonardo da Vinci were major contributors during this time. Although all three artists' careers were sponsored by the Medici family, the Catholic Church was also a major patron of these artists. So I would like to ask you, what effect did this form of artistry have on the Catholic Church?
Renaissance art had an effect on both the image and finances of the Church. The Renaissance had a significant impact on the way the artists approached religious themes. Although there was a conflict that the artists felt between traditional values represented by the Church and the progressive nature of Renaissance art, many of the works have great spiritual depth. Remarkable works of art were created in the churches and for the churches during this time. They provided us a visible perception of the mystery of the Church. They gave a face to Jesus that makes God more real for us. Wealthy patrons such as the Medici family often commissioned works of art that were in some way related to the Catholic Church, and often these magnificent works of art are donated to the cathedrals for all worshippers to enjoy. However, Pope Julius II and Leo X also provided constant work for these artists, and the papacy built up huge debt to finance these works. In doing so, the Church maintained control of the arts, so the art of this time remained highly religious.
Let's talk about some of the specific artists of this time. An incomparable role in the development of art. Michelangelo Buonarroti was born in 1475 in Caprice, Italy. At the age of 13, he moved to Florence, Italy, to the Medici Palace to study classical sculpture in the Medici Gardens. The Medici family was a great supporter of the arts and expended great sums of money to support these artists. Here he studied with prominent sculptors, poets, and painters. He also obtained permission from the Catholic Church to study cadavers for insight to anatomy. These studies allowed him to develop his style of muscular precision and reality combined with beauty. He was later supported financially by several popes. His works include the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, Pietà, and David.
The Sistine Chapel showed the drama and mystery of the world from creation to Last Judgment, giving a face to God. He lived for 90 years and received commissions from 4 different popes. He was commissioned by Pope Julius II to design and build a tomb for himself, and then to paint the Sistine Chapel. Pope Leo X asked him to construct a new facade for the church at St. Lorenzo. The Pope Clement VII asked him to build a chapel for the Medici family, and Pope Paul III appointed him chief architect for the reconstruction of St. Peter's Basilica.
Raphael was also a great Renaissance artist. Raphael Sanzio was born on April 6, 1483 in Urbino, Italy. Urbino was a cultural center that encouraged the arts, and his father was a painter. After apprenticing in Perugino, he moved to Florence, where he spent most of his life. He developed an intricate and personal style that was admired for its clarity. He used light composition and a sense of depth to create intimate, simple paintings. Like Michelangelo, he was commissioned by the Pope. Best known for his Madonna's painting for the Virgin Mary. During the last 12 years of his life, he lived in Rome and was commissioned by the popes and wealthy families. He was very close to Pope Julius, who commissioned him to paint a series of rooms in the papal apartments, and these murals are considered to be some of his greatest works.
Yes, that is true, and in particular his work Dispute at the Eucharist depicts the mystery of the revelation of the Triune, and with open arms seems to welcome the whole human family. Other famous works include the Sistine Madonna and the School of Athens. He was also an architect and did some work on St. Peter's Basilica. He died on his 37th birthday, and Pope Leo X ordered that he be buried in the Pantheon in Rome.
Perhaps the most influential artist of the time was Leonardo da Vinci. He was born on April 15, 1452, in Vinci, Italy. He was a supremely talented painter and sculptor. He was also a scientist and inventor, a true Renaissance man. At around the age of 15, Da Vinci went to work as an apprentice to the painter Verrocchio. He apprenticed with him for about 10 years until he was commissioned by Lorenzo de' Medici to create a silver lyre and take it to the Duke of Milan as a gesture of peace. He was later commissioned by the Duke to work on many other projects, including The Last Supper. Da Vinci was extremely interested in the study of the human body. It was his study of anatomy that led to his realistic works as an artist. He sought to accurately recreate the human body.
I would like to discuss The Last Supper. This painting shows the final gathering of Jesus with his disciples. This work is remarkable in that Da Vinci perfectly created facial expressions for each of the disciples as they heard that Jesus would be betrayed. Also, it is his face of Jesus in this painting that is the template from which all modern pictures of Jesus are based. The Last Supper and Mona Lisa are two of his most famous works.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you to Pope John Paul II and to you for watching. Please tune in next week when we will be discussing the popes of the Renaissance.